Well, welcome, Tom and Dino. I am so excited that you're here. We are finally all together to talk about a subject that is so incredibly important, and that is all about caregiving to your wives and any caregiver who is taking care of their spouse or anyone, a friend or a sibling or whatever, and how important it is to be a caregiver. And I actually have known Dino's wife for quite some time. We used to work with each other years ago, and I've been following her journey. And this is the first time I'm actually talking to Dino and as her husband and caregiver. And then Tom, I met you through Cancer Community Clubhouse here in Reno at a coffee connection, and we discovered that you knew my friend Carrie and her husband Dino. It was like this really cool chance meeting. And I've just become really aware of how incredibly important it is to have a loving caregiver. I had a loving caregiver in my husband, and it blows my mind how much caregivers go through, because when a person is diagnosed with cancer or any serious illness, it's not just the person being diagnosed, it's everyone involved in their lives, especially their spouse. So I welcome you, Tom and Dino. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast here, and be very happy to share a little bit of my experience for your listeners and viewers, how this role of a caregiver perhaps looks like to someone who has never been exposed to such situations. So thank you very much for having me on your podcast today.
Great. Dino?
And thanks for asking. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure being here and a chance to kind of purge my thoughts, my feelings. And if some way this helps someone in the future, then mission accomplished.
I'm really happy that you brought that up, because I do believe that caregivers need to take care of themselves as well. This is a mental, it messes with you a little bit, I'm sure. I know it did with my husband, and I know how important it is to make sure that you're taking care of your own mental health. And many times, just talking like we're talking right now, sharing your feelings and your thoughts and everything, because your thoughts and feelings absolutely matter 100%. And I know that you two are wonderful caregivers, because I have talked to Tom. I can tell that you are a very beautiful human being that really cares about your wife. It's very apparent in your voice, in your facial expressions, and what you have told me before. And Dino, I have watched your story on social media, so I know that you are as well. So I want to kind of start with Tom. Can you share a little bit about your wife's story, her diagnosis, and where that has, her treatments, and that has taken you today?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Yeah, I think we have left a very happy, fruitful, adventurous life so far. Have had a lot of fun and exploring the world together. And yeah, it was about a good year ago, in winter of 22, when my wife had really started to experience more pain, and couldn't sit anymore, couldn't walk anymore, and was compromised in her mobility, and the quality of life was not there anymore. And then tests were done, and finally she was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and stage 4. So it was a pretty hefty shock there, because it came so abrupt into our life. Although there were some compromises made before, but we worked around that. But then once we knew what it was, then it's the fate seemed to be sealed a little bit more than it was before. So just the knowledge of that diagnosis was pretty tough. And so she was diagnosed and started treatment obviously right away. Luckily, we didn't have to wait. She was had a surgery and for a artificial exit of the intestines that needed to be done right away. And then was a chemotherapy session of about a week, well, several sessions for about a week, and the highest dose allowable basically per lifetime. And right afterwards started the chemotherapy. And so that chemotherapy has been going on since, I would say, about March or April of 22. So it's about a year and a half almost. And
Oh,
since that time, she's been in treatment, and we just try to make that work right now. This new lifestyle.
okay. Thank you for sharing. Is she finished? Is she still getting
Mm.
any kind of chemo, or is that going to be something that she'll have for the rest of her life? Or
The supposed best method right now is to keep her on chemotherapy until she would die. And it seems like that is a necessity right now to just keep it stable and not deteriorate too fast. But no one has said that there might be a hope for a recovery remission. Nobody has mentioned anything like that yet. Well, of course, we would hope for that, and there might be a chance for that to happen. But at this point, it seems like it's ongoing until the body cannot absorb all of the chemicals anymore.
okay, that must be really tough for you. Thank you for sharing. Dino, can you share a little about Carrie?
I can. Besides the
And
fact that my
okay, hold on
go
just
ahead.
1 second. Dino, hang on a second. Tom, what is your wife's name?
Monica.
Thank you. I just wanted to put a name to her face. I apologize.
Sure, sure.
And Dino, can you go ahead and share a little bit about Carrie?
Sure, I'm glad to. My wife's a retired school teacher of 40 years. Uh, Sweet, wonderful, caring, gentle lady like Tom and Monica. We were traveling, adventures, scuba diving, riding the Harley, uh, doing all kinds of fun things in life. And then my wife had had a pain for years, a couple of years, and it was misdiagnosed until finally they found out that it was a mass on her spine, inoperable. And I remember the doctor's visit as if it were yesterday. He said, "You have basically 3 months to live." And this was December 2 years ago. "You have 3 months to live. I'm going to give you Vicodin, and the pain's going to get worse, and get your things in order." Uh,
Oh my God.
he left the room. We just embraced. We were crying and just beside ourselves. And then uh, I notified a friend of mine, well, actually a cousin in Texas, and he said, "You need to go to MD Anderson, get a second opinion." And, being naive, I thought, well, this doctor must know what he's talking about because he's the expert in Reno. Well, we went to MD Anderson and they said, "No, we can work on a cocktail." And they did. She was on chemotherapy for 6 months. And we got the test. Of course, we were holding on tight, and the mass had gone down in size, and the cancer was no longer growing. And we started to realize there is life beyond just 3 months, and it was exciting for us. Since then, she has to go through Keytruda, which is a miracle drug, and one other drug. They all kind of blend together after a while. Uh, my wife keeps track of them. I don't. And she every 3 weeks she goes through about an hour and a half. Keytruda and another drug, and her hair's grown back, and she's back to living life, and we're back to uh, being healthy again, even though it'll be for the rest of her
Wonderful.
life.
Yeah, number one, I am so glad for your cousin who told you to get a second opinion because I am all about second opinions. And
Yeah.
because I have discovered that just because you're in a place where you have the best of the best doctors, it's okay to get a second opinion. Even if they say the same thing, at least you have that second opinion. But a lot of times you don't get the same reaction and much like your story. And so I love that you and Carrie share on social media with everyone. When she's at MD Anderson, she texts me all the times and she shows me the scene from your hotel. And so it's almost like, okay, I get to go there again and I get to keep on trying to continue my life. And so she has such a positive outlook on all of this. And I will tell you that she actually helped me through my own cancer diagnosis and treatment and recovery and all of that, because she gave me a scarf when I was bald, and she gave me some things, when I was bald, and she just kind of helped me through some stuff. So, and her keeping all of her meds in order, that's the teacher in her.
Yeah.
She's very organized, I'm sure. And yeah, that I mean, not all teachers are like that, but I know she is. But okay, well, thank you for sharing, both of you. Thank you for sharing Monica and Carrie's story. I want to talk to you a little bit about probably one of the scary pieces to going into treatment. Tom, what was it like for you to sit in the very first chemo with Monica?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question there. I think it's one of your first tests, uh, how you would deal with all those new situations, and I think that was, yeah, probably one of the very first scary feelings. Um, I uh, I remember it was just overwhelming. The whole, it's because it's such a new, for both of us. It was a completely new world. Dealing with doctors almost on a daily basis. Well, at that point, it was on a daily basis, and so it was a completely new world, and it was just scary and very a territory that we were totally not prepared for. It was so abrupt, and then have so much exposure to the medical world. So it was scary, and yeah, we didn't have any knowledge about this whole process. Although you get a good guidance from all the doctors probably, but that doesn't sink in for quite a while. I think it's more psychologically first that hits you. There's like a full truck hitting you, and um, I think it became really apparent pretty quickly that we are not really in control anymore about our health or our lives. So the control is in someone else's hands, and I felt like that was not easy to deal with. Um, it's just very hard if someone else is in control of your wife's health, not you as the husband, who always wants to be strong for your wife. Well, now it's a situation of absolute helplessness, and that is very scary. Was very scary at the beginning. Something new, something we have learned to cope with in the meantime, but at the very first time in during chemotherapy, that was very tough. I was trying to really be of help to my wife. I was not so concerned about myself. I was trying to console her and trying to give her just good vibes so that she felt less stressed in those situations. I think that's how I saw my first responsibility right away. What can I do for my wife in this unknown territory? And I was trying to console her, trying to, yeah, you just say things like, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it work. You just want, at that point, it's just about keeping your psyche up keeping your mood up a little bit, and that's what I felt was my main thing to do right away. But I think the very tough thing was that you're dealing with your mind, and it plays tricks on you right away. And I think that was a big hurdle. You just didn't know if the chemicals would work at all. Would that cocktail save her or not? There was so much uncertainty, um, and I think we both felt like that was pretty tough. That you need those chemicals. At least that's what they say. And for right now, for discussion's sake, I guess we'll leave it like that. So they say you need those. Okay, all right. At the same time, they kill you. So that dichotomy of helping and killing at the same time is just something I was never able to grasp really, uh, emotionally, I should say. Uh, and so that you always think about what's the worst outcome, right? And you just play with that. And is this chemotherapy going to work or not? And if it doesn't work, well, she just might die in 3 6 months. Um, so you're preparing for the worst really in your mind already, and that was emotionally very draining to me. And at that point, we haven't learned to deal with that yet. So at the beginning, it was just very debilitating, and um, I think at that point it was very clear that it's beyond your capacity of what we have to do in life. You're dealing with that emotionally, and it was beyond my capacity to 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 cope or to continue life as you would want to. That was basically not possible. So that was very much my experience in at the beginning there of the chemotherapy.
Okay. Thank you. Dino, how about you? What was your experience like the first time you went to chemo with Carrie?
Well, I remember again, as if it were yesterday, all of these are snapshots in time. I agree with Tom. I had similar experiences. First of all, I'm an old Marine from years back. And so letting go of the control and surrendering myself to others was definitely challenging. There's a saying, when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your power is. And that was a lesson I had to learn. Uh, just surrendering to others and accepting and realizing that it was out of my hands. All I could do was, it was my attitude was the only thing that I had control over at that time. So I put up the front of, this is going to be great, honey, burying my fears, um, because that was going to serve no purpose whatsoever. And it was she and I in this war, and we 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 got through it. But I remember a visual when we walked into that room for the first time for her treatment. There were 50 cubicles and all of these people, and it was a quiet environment. It was so serene, and nobody was laughing, nobody was talking. There was no music. It 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 could have been a downer, so to speak. Yet at the same time, it was like, all right, here we go. And we just sat with our computers, our books, and just sat for 6 hours, just reading and consoling each other. Help, what can I get you, honey? Uh, and realizing that uh, this was not an environment that was upbeat. All right, we're in this and we're going to work through this. It was more of a neutral environment, and so we had to find some ways to be enthusiastic and happy about what's going on, and that this is the first step in your healing, rather than it felt like a funeral. I hate to say
Mm-hmm.
that, but it did. And so each time we faced it, we had to look at inside of ourselves and say, we're going to find something happy about this. And so we did everything we could to make the best of the 6+ hours each visit, and we did, and we were excited about it. But fear, definitely, fear is there, and surrendering was challenging, but it was a lesson I had to learn in life.
I think it's really important that you share as men, because men are husbands, and my husband was very much like that. This as well. You both seem to be very similar in that you try to have this front and try to say, okay, babe, we're going to get through this one step at a time, one day at a time. We're going to do this. We're going to get through it. That's just the next step. And we're going to, and try to keep this positive outlook, at least front for your wife. And all the while inside, you're afraid, and like it's real, and you have zero control. Like Tom said, you don't have any control. And so, you go and you support and you go through these things. And I think if you do have somebody who is diagnosed and you are going to be the caregiver, it's really important to know what you're going to be getting into. And I know that there are a lot of couples who just don't make it. I mean, it's such a high percentage, like 40% of couples end up in divorce because one or the other, they can't handle it, for whatever reason, because it's hard work. It's hard work to get through it all. And my husband, I mean, I'm still healing. Your wives are still going through treatments and things like that. And that will never change. And so your life as you know it or knew it is definitely different. So, but having that rough exterior and having to take care of your wife like that, it's like a very, very delicate flower. Right. So you guys, you're making me a little bit teary-eyed. Yes, Tom?
I think one thing that I would like to add to that is the at the beginning of that journey, I think there was, I have to confess, it was rather hard for me because emotionally I was suffering with my wife at that moment, and I think I was maybe suffering more than Dino is describing. How I think they had more positive energy or outlook right from the start. I don't think we had that, and so I was on the sidelines. I think I was suffering more than my wife. But when I was with my wife, I was trying to be as motivational as I could. And so there was in me there was kind of two sides at the same time. And that's something, that's something we have learned to deal with, because that you cannot do that. I could not do that for very long. But at the beginning, I was trying to be very, very positive, officially in front of my wife. But as soon as I was alone, I had to deal with that, and was crying a lot too. But so there was kind of these two sides of living, my internal, my inner life. On the other side, how do I what husband do I want to be for my wife? And so that was, at the beginning, it was two different lives in me. I think now we have reconciled that over the time a little bit. But at the beginning, I was that was a toughie. That was a toughie.
That is totally understandable. That's kind of how we were. I was the one that was like in a deep dark hole, and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I need to stop this. I need to get out of this hole because I need to figure out how I can control the narrative of how this was all going to happen. And so I don't, my husband and I have talked about it, and we actually are still in therapy right now, just because we have a lot of things that have come out and we need to talk it out and things like that. So, um, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit later in the interview about how you both have sought out support for caregivers. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about ringing the bell. I rang the bell twice. One, I rang the bell at the end of my chemo. I wanted to ring that bell, even though I knew I was not finished with treatment because I had to go a whole nother quite a few months getting meds infused. And so they let me ring the bell. Then, after I was completely finished with all my meds this past July, I actually said, "Can I ring the bell again?" And they let me ring the bell. So I rang the bell twice. Dino, what was it like when Carrie got I know she I and I'm very well aware that they are both still in treatment. Did she get to ring the bell yet?
Oh, yes. Oh, uh, uh, every time we go in for chemo, we would look at the bell and we'd look at the words above it, and we kept looking forward. Uh, in a, Before I get right into the bell, I'd just like to say this. When we first get married, when you're young, you take the wedding vows, and in those wedding vows, through sickness and health, those are just words when we're young.
Mhm,
Suddenly, they were a reality for us.
mhm.
And it was up to me to show my wife because she said to me, if this is a deal breaker, if this is a deal breaker, I would understand it. And I just said, does that mean if I got sick, you would leave me? Pause. And then she realized, okay, we're in this together. And our marriage has come out so much better and stronger because we know we're going to be there for the rest of our lives for each other. With that, the bell was a big ceremony. There are people who go up and they ring the bell, they just ding. No, I had this all set up. There's a song, and I can't remember the name of the song, but it's Ring My Bell. And I had it all ready to go on Pandora, and I played it on with a speaker, and we walked up. Uh, oh, wow. All these emotions are coming back.
Yes, yes.
And she rang that bell, and she rang it hard and rang it several times because this was a celebration for us. Yes, knowing she'll be in treatment forever, but you know what? We got past the first and the biggest hurdle, and we were always focused on looking forward. When this is over, what are we going to do? Some people, they look at pictures and it was all the past. We want to look forward, not backwards. And so that bell and ringing it was a big celebration for us. And I've videoed it so that we can revisit it anytime we want to remember that moment. That's what it was like for us.
Absolutely. I love that. And I like the fact that your story can inspire other people to help couples understand that a diagnosis like this is not an end, a means to an end, like a
Yeah,
divorce or whatever. Like
yeah,
we have to know that what your marriage could actually be after, or even, even if you're dealing with it for the rest of your life, what that does to us as a couple. And I have to share that I remember telling my husband, you didn't sign up for this. If you
yeah.
want to leave, here's an out for you. I remember very vividly telling him that a couple of times, that you did not sign up for this. And he said, yes, I did. And then I said, you're right. You did. You did sign up for this. But I like how Carrie said, well, does that, or you said, does that mean if I get sick, you're going to like leave me? And she's probably like, no, that's not what I said. But essentially, that's kind of what she did say, but she didn't say it. She didn't mean to say it, but that's kind of what she's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to leave each other when we get sick. No. All right. Tom, has Monica gotten to ring the bell yet?
I have only a vague understanding of that expression. Could you describe to me exactly what you mean with that?
With the bell. So
Uh-huh.
ringing the bell is a symbol of being finished with a treatment. So
Mhm.
even though I wasn't finished with my treatments back in December, I had finished my chemo.
Mhm.
So they let me ring the bell. It was like a milestone, but it usually symbolizes the end of a treatment. So has she been able to reach a milestone yet, with ending some sort of treatment where she is able to go up to that bell? That is, did you do yours? Or does she go to cancer care specialist or does she go to Renown?
She goes to Renown.
So I don't know where the bell is at Renown. I have to ask about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because I didn't ring my bell there. I rang it at cancer care specialist. But if you look up ringing the bell cancer treatment, you would know if she rang the bell.
Yeah,
So when, yeah,
physically that did not happen.
okay, yeah,
As far as the broader meaning of that, obviously finishing a treatment, I think we were happy after the main chemotherapy for the first 6 months or whatever that was. So there was a point where it was clear that she can, with not so many side symptoms,
hmm,
that she can somehow manage that.
yes,
And so we were happy when, even during that phase already, that first chemo phase, but when it was done, it was clear that she did all, I don't know, it was 12 sessions or
mhm,
something like that. And so there was for sure not the end of the treatment, but there was, as you said, a milestone
mhm,
that she was able to withstand that chemical warfare there, right? And so there was fantastic to see that happening, and but then it was clear it's going to go into a maintenance format, and there might not be a bell ringing moment
mhm.
coming.
So have you? So it is a symbol of sort of celebrating something. Do
Mhm.
you have anything with Monica that you do, or did you do when she finished that main part of the chemo to sort of symbolize we've hit a milestone?
Yeah, Jamie, I think we did, and I believe we did it for every other little milestone. Maybe only a quarter milestone. It doesn't have for us. It does not have to be a full mile. So I remember we were just happy. I think we celebrate every time there was a little quality of life that we gained, and whenever that was, even in the maintenance stage right now, there was a time that was not so good, and then it it improved, and once it improved, then it became a little bit more, a more regular improvement over time. Then we said, "Hey, I'm going to buy a champagne bottle right now," and so
Yes.
so even those little hurdles that we overcame. Every time we understood we overcame some sort of a phase, and maybe good times come up a little bit again. I think we celebrate every time that. Um, so I think we do. I think we do, and yeah.
So you have your own bell. You have your own way of celebrating, and I think that's so important. And it's all about teamwork together and getting through it together. And clearly, you guys have that, and that's wonderful. Dino, you you were talking about being naive about a few things, about cancer care. Can you share some of your thoughts about how you were naive and
Okay.
maybe, yeah, how you were naive?
I've lost family members and friends to cancer. But you know what? It was to me, it was like looking inside a house through a window. Really wasn't. It just I went through the trauma of it, but at the same time, not the everyday trauma, the everyday task, everything that was needed to keep life going. Uh, and something you said earlier, Jamie, if I may, you said the bell symbolizes the end of treatment. We looked at it a little different. I looked at it as this is ringing the bell meant, well, let's move on to the next phase of our life. And that's why it was a celebration for us rather than a treatment, that we're moving forward. And you talk about my wife on social media. Oh, there's a saying, I love sayings because they make me sound so profound. But if you want to get somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, include others. And for my wife, part of her own therapy is to go out on social media and let the world know what she's going through. And if it touches one person or inspires one person, that works then. And I was naive about all of these things, about the importance of including so many others in our journey to seek help. I was naive about what it's like to basically, it was like a new parent. You have a child, and I had to take care of her in every way, cooking, cleaning. These are not words that Marines use all the time. And doctor's appointments and so many things to keep on the schedule. And then my naivety, I forgot. And there's also, I have to live life. And it left very little time for that. So I had to learn about what it's like to carve in time, just like a new mother or a new father. You have to carve out time for yourself. And that's hard because you get caught up in the day to day. Next thing you know, it's the end of the day and, well, I'll do it tomorrow. So I was naive about uh, what it's like to go to doctors every day. I'm a healthy guy, and what it's like to surround yourself. Your schedule is about doctor's appointments and the different drugs you take and what are the side effects of this. I mean, I had no idea until that day in the doctor's office.
Until you knew.
I
You
didn't
had
know
no
what I didn't
idea
know.
until you
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
So I bet being a Marine, you know how to make your bed. I know my husband knows how, yeah, that's that. Thank you for sharing that because you don't know until you know. I mean, I had a lot of naive moments myself, but I like the fact that Carrie went out there and shared her story because guess who she did inspire? Me. And I actually have been very, very open. I have a private Facebook group that a lot of people follow. I went live. Everybody saw my bald head, my turbans, my hat,
Yeah.
all the things. I mean, I shared it all.
Yeah.
And I have had people reach out to me, even people that I don't even know, who have reached out to me and said, Jamie, thank you so much for being so open about the good, the bad, the ugly of what you're going through. Because, like you said, if it touches even one person, but I guarantee it's not just one person, there are more people. And that is one of the reasons I started this podcast, is because I want people to be aware and give as much information and bring as many resources and stories like yours and Tom's to the audience so that they can just be better prepared. I mean, you cannot be prepared until you go through it, but still, So Tom, yes.
I think Jamie is fantastic. What you just said, I think that's fantastic, and I think that exposing that information to people who have luckily not been exposed to that has does probably do wonders. But when you said that, what I immediately remembered was that we all have heard cancer stories before. We were personally engaged in that, and I think I personally I understood it rationally what people were saying. Yeah, you have cancer and your hair falls out and uh, weight issues, pain issues. You hear it with your mind, with your brain. And that information was important at that point to hear that. But it is still totally so far away from the actual personal
reality
relationship with your personal reality. Then once it hits home, I was when it comes to naive, you mentioned the word naive. That's how I felt too. I said, yeah, I heard a lot about cancer before. I read books about cancer from a preventive standpoint. And I thought, yeah, okay, I understand it a little bit and I have knowledge about it. But then when it hit us, there no information, and not even all information, can prepare you for that, what you will feel at that moment. That's how naive I was, maybe, in that sense.
I think that's why they call it a journey, right? The journey is a journey, and it's a journey of all journeys. And, you sort of just learn as you go. And again, doing what we're doing right now is talking about what we learned along the way. So thank you for sharing that, Tom. Patience. How easy, Tom, was it for you to really learn about the true meaning of patience?
That was a good question, Jamie. There, I must say, I'm actually a very calm and patient person by character, but when I started that journey, cancer-related journey here, that taught me a different patience. It's a different patience when the subject is your own health or life, and I think that's what I had to learn the very hard way. You might be a very patient person, but when it comes to not knowing when what's going to happen next week or in a month, you just got to see how it evolves. And well, do you want to be hopeful? Do you want to be pessimistic? Patience is something that was not easy to come by, at least for me, because there's more at stake. If it's something different in my previous phases in my life, it was rather trivial things, and you can be very patient about that because it's not that much at stake. But I think, is she going to die? Is she going to get better? How long is the journey? There's so much uncertainty. That patience to grow, I think, is a test of your is really a test of your strength. And it was hard for me to grow that patience in that aspect, and I think it still is hard. So I certainly have not mastered that yet, and I really try to use a little bit my experience with the Buddhism principles in life, and that gave me a little better handle on that situation, because they always say, well, let go. And, first you say, well, sure, I understand, but then you have to really let go of something you want, and I want my wife to be happy and healthy and long living, and but you have to let go of, I believe you have to let go of that idea. I learned to be happy with whatever is going to come up, and that taught me the patience level, that I'm happy with whatever is going to happen. And most likely she will die soon. Sure. Hopefully not, but if it happens, I need to be patient and be a good husband in the meantime. And if I don't have the patience, I cannot be a good husband. So letting go of some big goals was important for me, And it's the daily fun that we have, that we can enjoy every day. And I think that helped me a lot, those Buddhism principles. And I think in that way we can enjoy life every day much better, and have that patience a little bit more in control. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's very profound what you just said. That's a lot on your shoulders. That's a very heavy. And my husband is not exactly the most patient man. So we've had to work on it quite a bit, which again is one of the reasons we are in therapy. And I think that every single person should have some sort of care like that, like some sort of therapy. And I am going to take a detour and talk to you about something after Dino tells me his version of that, and how easy you found it to find that patience.
well, I had to learn. There's a saying again, another one. I'm sorry, but is if you want to give God a good belly laugh, make a plan for your life. So here was a new plan for our lives, and I had to learn that things that break your heart are the same things that open your eyes, and it had to open my eyes to a different way to accept what I could not control. I'm a driver, and my wife is a peacekeeper. She's quiet and she's perfectly happy, just enjoying a quiet life. I'm on to the next thing, and the next thing, and it was hard for me not to say when she would say, "I I can't walk to the mailbox." Yes, you can. I'll walk with you. And if we don't make it the first day, we'll make it a little further the next day, and then we'll make it a little further the next day. And it was as if making it to the mailbox was just another bell to ring. And that's how we kind of had to look at it. Yeah, there are times where I don't have my patience. I'll hear from the bedroom calling out, "Honey," and all of a sudden, no, I just had taken a moment for myself. And yet, okay, getting character. Yeah, honey, what do you need? And there's that battle that goes on in your mind. There's the inside voice and there's the outside voice. And so it was uh, learning to just accept that she's not going to take this on like I do. She's taking it on her way, and it's still working. There's more than one approach. There's more than one answer to life. So we found a balance somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you guys about balance too. My husband has become a lot more patient throughout this journey because he just sort of had to. If we were going to make this work, he had to, and I had to as well because I can be impatient myself. And I kicked and screamed. I kicked and screamed at the very beginning. I was angry, sad, all of it, and we had to sort of get ourselves through that initial freak out and then sort of move on. I want to take a little detour before I ask you some other questions here. Tom, I met you at Cancer Community Clubhouse here in Reno, and I know Dino and Carrie go to that clubhouse as well. And I interviewed Natalie Stevenson, who heads up that in our area, and she's amazing. And anyone to any of my audience, if you have not listened to that episode, please listen to it because it is such a wonderful resource that we have here in Reno that a lot of people don't even know about. I am so thrilled that I found it and I went to the Coffee Connection. I have referred people to the clubhouse. Tom, can you share why it is that you initially, because there are some men that I know that would never go to any place like that to get support. And it's this, I don't know if it's just, being macho and I get this, I got this, I got this. It's very typical. Tom, you were just amazing. I was so excited to hear your story and hear you talking when I met you. Can you share with me and our audience what made you even decide to go there and how has that helped you?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. I think that's a really, really good question, and I've been asked that question by several people with, within that organization. And I think my main answer to that question is very soon I understood that I was not prepared to deal with that disease of my wife. I was not able to cope with that well at all. Actually, worse than my wife. And so I felt immediately the need that I need help. And I always thought I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody has done that already for me. I just need to listen to them. And so I thought, I'll go to that group. And at that point, it was not a caregiver group. It was actually a cancer survivor. It probably still is a cancer survivor group. And I thought, well, even though it's not a caregiver group, they all know much more than I do at that point. I had zero exposure until that point. And so I thought, well, they can help me. They can give me some good pointers. They could listen to me, almost like a group therapy in a
Mhm.
sense. So I thought, hey, I want to share my experiences with them, and and if I'm listening astutely, I maybe hear a thing here or there what they can teach me by sharing their experiences. And I think that was the very, very important thing why I wanted to go there. And and then I something else came up as a subsequent feature actually in that whole thing, was that I started to understand, if I'm having a better understanding of how a cancer person deals with situations like that. Not a caregiver, but a cancer person, yeah, or a cancer survivor in most cases, then I can understand my wife better. So not only seeing my side, it was important to me to understand and know as much as possible from the other side, so that I can be a more understanding partner. And I think that became more and more apparent, that that is almost actually maybe more worth than dealing with my own little things. It's just, no, oh, I understand how a cancer person as a patient, how they go through things. And I think that was uh, yeah, I think that was absolutely important for me, and I learned so much from their stories. And yeah, I believe that was the two reasons why I went there. Yep.
So you were able to show up better as a husband to Monica.
I think absolutely, absolutely. And I must confess, I'm probably a little bit privileged. We have our own company. And so I was able to take off time by not having to ask anybody. It is still tough because I'm attending there regularly. It's still tough to say, oh, I'm not going to work right now, and I'm going to take the time out of my schedule, because that is very important to me, to be a good husband. And but it is easier maybe for me than someone who is in an employee
Mhm.
format working. So I feel privileged that I can do that, and I love that freedom to do that.
Yeah, I just had retired when I got diagnosed. Like literally, I had a huge retirement party 1 week prior to my finding out I had breast cancer. And luckily, my husband had retired the year before. So we were super privileged as well that we didn't have to go to work. I don't know how people do it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Dino, what is your experience with Cancer Community Clubhouse?
Uh, Again, that saying of if you want to get somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, include others. And my wife asked me to go. And if she asked me to go, then that's part of that patience. I'll go. And it it to me, it's very much like going to a gym. I found all these excuses not to go to the gym, but then once I'm walking out of the gym, I go, I'm sure glad I did that. And that often is the case with getting together at the group. And I realized how blessed we are there are some people in the group that are struggling with uh, just work working through. To me, I hate to say this in this way, but they've surrendered to their cancer. And I look at those meetings as a way to fight on instead of surrender. And it's like, okay, rather than talk about what it's doing to them, I I love hearing the people that are talking about what they're doing in spite of. And that's inspirational for me. And even some people need, of course, to be able to get it out there and hear it. And patience, understanding, and listening is so important. Yet I really want to. The driver in me wants to go. You can do this. Come on. This isn't so bad. You'll get through it. But I also realized there were a lot of single people, unmarried people in the group, and that was an eye opener for me because I can't even imagine
Mhm.
what that would be like. We had one small situation happen where I had to be out of town and travel, and my wife's sister we were going to fly her in, and she was going to take care of her for those 4 or 5 days. And all of a sudden, the sister said, "I can't come," and I went, "No, you can't." And I cannot leave my wife. I realized alone. Then I reached out, and oh my gosh, what I found was such a support group of people, like that support group with the coffee, that sure, I can be there that time. And people took slots as if it were a work schedule. And it worked out fabulous. And it gave my wife some additional social interaction with people that you don't get at home or on social media. So that was our kind of our journey with this.
That social interaction is so important. I'm a very
Oh,
social person, so but it is amazing how there are some people who get these diagnoses and they just sort of coil up and
yep.
keep everything bottled up and everything. And if they only knew what it would be like if they let themselves out of that bottle and go and meet people and talk to other people to help out. So
Yeah.
Tom, yes.
I think that's very true. Very true. I've seen the exact same thing in those groups. I believe what helped me a lot is to see where people are not choosing to embrace all of that and regain control of their life somehow.
Mhm.
To me, it was an eye opener in that sense that that some are not able to choose that for themselves, and it became more clearer to me that yeah, it is our choice to make the best out of it right now. And it's hard and it's tough. Yeah, well, sure. Everybody has tough hurdles in their lives. Everybody does. But we have a choice, and I think that's what I love about hearing those different stories. Everybody choose, well, not everybody, but there's some that choose or not choose to do anything, and there are some that choose to. And I think Dino is a fantastic example, choosing to go forward, and it's a yeah, it's a clear choice that you make. And I always felt like that was is apparent that some cannot make that or don't dare to, whatever the reasons are, that we have a choice.
Yeah, we
Yeah, you
chose.
guys are amazing. You're
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just amazed. I'm just so happy that um that you two are sharing these things because they're things that we just don't think about and other people don't think about. And so your thoughts are so valid and so important. So thank you. Dino?
Yep. We made a decision. We're going to live our life in spite of cancer rather than letting cancer control how we live our life.
There should be a t-shirt that says that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with a couple of questions. One, I want to ask Dino, what care do you feel that your wife can give back to you?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Uh, I, um, okay. Uh, this is these are thoughts I've had, and I haven't really shared them with my wife. So when she listens to this
Oh,
podcast, she'll have the answers to the test before she takes the test. Uh,
it'll be like unwrapping a present.
you know what I find is that I I massage my wife's feet, I rub her back, I do all of these physical things that she needs, and touch is something that's very important to her. And the cooking and whatever else may be needed at the time. And my wife likes to get things done. She's task driven, the school teacher in her, the homework, the schedule, all of that. Uh, and what I really need back is occasionally rub my feet, uh, rub my back. And I feel awkward asking for it because she's the one who's surviving cancer. You know, how dare I ask for her to do something for me? But the truth is, to have those tender moments is something that I feel will is important to my heart, and to keep things going. It's my nourishment. Uh, when I sometimes want to throw up my hands, how much more can I do? That would be the little things. And so occasionally she'll make dinner, and she really goes all out. And I love that. And that's just a part of it. The touching, though, is something that with cancer, sometimes we forget. We're so dealing with
Yeah.
all the drugs, everything else.
So there you go, Carrie. There's your homework. You got to do some foot rubs and back rubs. And my husband, one of the things I loved that my husband did when I was bald is he would come and kiss my head. He loved my
Yep.
bald head.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I would say that there's always something that we as the cancer survivors, patients, can give back to our caregivers, our husbands. So okay, so thank you for sharing that. How about you, Tom? What can Monica do?
What can Monica do for me?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear a question is I actually feel like that I have been so privileged in our previous phase that I always feel like she does not need to give me anymore. She's giving me so much, and that's maybe a proof of a great relationship. I don't know, but I never feel like that I want anything from her. Now, when Dino said, "Yeah, rub me my feet," I'd say that feels absolutely good, and we need that touch. What you talked about, we still need that, regardless of what our mind thinks of that. We still need that, and we cuddle a lot, and we absolutely. But what I just said, I think is true too. I have gotten so much from my wife so far that I feel privileged to be. It's my turn right now to give everything back to her, and I probably can never give her that much back what she's giving me so far. So from a from a balance standpoint, yeah, I'm happy that I can give her a lot of stuff. But trying to answer your question a little bit better, maybe, is I think when I see her that she loves me, and she continues to support me emotionally, that is, and encourages me, and because she understands my situation as well as I do hers, and so she understands my role is pretty tough, and so her love, her continued support to understand me, encourage me, motivate me, to me that is absolutely fantastic. And without that, I think I would sometimes not look so good, maybe this day or that day. So having that bond between us, that strength of that bond, it nourishes me in situations when I'm not feeling good, and she does that, and she helps me in those situations, and to me that's absolutely outstanding. Now, the the paramount thought that comes to my mind is that what she does for me is she's extending her life, allowing that treatment to happen. We have talked about that. We've talked about that, and we're in agreement that, hey, if you don't want to do that anymore, and you just have a natural succession until death, that's okay too. But her wish to, or it's actually her desire to have fun with me together, still enjoying life. I think that's the ultimate thing that she can give to me. And I think I'm very blessed that I have a wife that, but I'd be happy either way. As I said, I don't expect anything really, but if there's something we can do together and enjoy still life, and the treatment can enable us to do that, and she is for that, she does a lot for me in that aspect. And then there's other things in life, like she organizes her own medical things, her doctors and all that. I don't have to do that, which takes a lot of time, right? So because I'm the sole provider with our own company, if I don't work, well, no money is coming in, and so she understands that, and she tries to take as much off my plate as far as organizing things and organizing nasty stuff like medical insurance stuff, but also organizing good things. We do a lot of vacations. We go here, we check out the world, we explore everything, and that needs to be organized too. And she takes the time to do all that too, and that is fantastic. That helps me a lot to be not quite as overburdened as I normally am.
Mhm. Well, I really like the fact that it seems like our three relationships, like my husband and I, are very cuddly. We are very touchy-feely. And that really does help, that human touch from the person that you love so much. And so, again, to my audience, it is absolutely possible to get through such a difficult diagnosis and new reality on life. And so, I want to end our interview with asking you to provide, in like a couple of sentences, maybe two or three sentences, Dino, what advice, like hardcore advice, would you give our audience and to caregivers in particular?
Ooh, I don't know if I can answer that in 2 or 3 sentences, but I'll give you a condensed version.
Okay.
There is a poster that I remember so well, uh, and it says, and it's a picture of a green, a golf green, beautiful, and around it is water, and there's rocks, and there's sand, there's trees, and as a golfer, and Tom's a golfer also, by the way, which we've been
I
talking
am
about
too.
getting together. Oh, well, there's a threesome. We got it, and I know
It's
Carrie would.
coming.
And on the bottom of that poster, it says obstacles, the things you see when you lose sight of the goal. So we've always looked at the pin in the middle. This is the shot I'm going to make in golf. I want to hit it here. Not thinking about all the other things that could happen. So we stay focused on that. And to me, that would be the advice I would give anyone is stay focused on what you want, and you deserve it. And so uh, that is uplifting, and that would be the advice I would give someone. Stay focused there, not on what isn't, but what will be and what is. Uh, and there the sunrise comes right after the darkest part of the night, and that's how we choose to look at it.
I love it. And I love the fact that you two golf. My husband and I, he's been golfing for a long time. And I started golfing when I was in my 20s and then had a huge hiatus. But all of my boyfriends golfed. So I would golf with them. not a good golfer, but I took lessons and all that. But in the last 2 years, my husband and I have been golfing a lot more with each other, especially this last year. And I'm like, why haven't I always been doing this? This is so awesome. Talk about patience. Tom, what about you? What is your piece of advice you would like to leave our audience, in particular to caregivers?
I believe it is it is very important to leave trivial things out of your life. And I think one can understand that fairly soon once you start this journey. There's a lot of things that do not have the importance anymore that you thought they have. I think that's probably the most important thing. It's kind of the same analogy with the pin golfing. You have an eye on what's most important. Not well, is the rough out there? Is it mowed at 8 inches or 9 inches? That's not important. You want to look and focus on your pin out there, and not on trivial things. The trivial things will keep you off target, and it's easy to fail there. I think it's very easy to fail, and I think where I see where my shortcoming is managing my time and my energy in that. I see often where I'm just being distracted I let myself distract by trivial things, and becoming aware of that. I think it's the awareness, what is important and what is not important. So shifting those standards in this journey, I think that is absolute paramount. And once you start to become familiar with this awareness, you see the pin way more. It's almost right in front of you. It's not only 150 yards away, it's almost right in front of you. Once you have that awareness, what is important and what's not. So that would be probably my main advice. Grow that awareness of what is important and what is not important, and then the journey is much easier.
When you take control.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Deno.
Oh, I was going to say, when you take control of your dreams, you take control of your reality. And so it's, how do you choose to look at the world, like Tom was saying, and how do you wish to look at what's happening, and what perspective can you put it in? And you're right, prioritizing is so important. Is this really that important? That I be right this time? Is that really important?
And I just want to emphasize that all of this advice, it's really important to get support. I don't think that anyone truly can go through this all by themselves without support. They think that they can, and they can get through it, but it's going to be so much better getting that support out there, helping you find that pin and helping you, understand that you don't always have to be right, and kind of suspending your inability to be patient or whatever it is, just getting that support to do that. And I will tell you that as as a survivor, I've learned so much from you both in this interview, and it's given me a better perspective also, on my husband and what he's gone through. And I think it's important for us all to work together to be able to help us healthily get through what it is that we're all going through. So thank you so much, Tom and Deno. I am so thrilled that you were able to interview with me on this episode. And I just really thank you. And I hope you both have an amazing rest of your day. Is there anything you'd like to add before we end up?
Well, I'll stay with the golf analogy, and that is that when you look at the support people, I look at them as our caddies. The caddy says, okay, here's the shot you need to make. Here's where you are. Here's what's going to happen. I look at the support people as the caddies, and every golfer needs a good caddy.
I would like to add, philosophically, let's be really good humans. Let's be kind and gentle to each other. And that's what we all deserve.
Okay. Well, I'm in. So to my audience, To my audience, I just really appreciate you tuning in to hear Tom and Dino's story about Monica and Carrie. And Monica sounds like a woman I need to meet, so maybe someday. And I just thank you two gentlemen so much. And thank you for being the caregivers that you are. And to my audience, I will see you next time on the next episode of Test Those Breasts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.